Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. Yesterday, the European Parliament adopted a resolution in favour of amending the EU treaties. The idea is to abandon the principle of unanimity in votes in the Council of the European Union in 65 areas and to transfer competences from the level of member states to the European Union level. In the vote, 291 MEPs were in favour, 274 against and 44 abstained. 9 Polish MEPs from Poland 2050 and the left supported the resolution. Polish deputies who voted yesterday for changes to European treaties entered Parliament in 2019 on the list of the European coalition led by Civic Platform. It is scandalous that MEPs elected in Poland voted for this at all. It is scandalous that the representatives of the European People's Party, which includes the Civic Platform and the Polish People's Party, also voted for it. National parliaments and governments will play a key role. Ladies and gentlemen, it is necessary to talk to parliamentarians from the Civic Platform, the left, the third way. They want to form the future government. This government will have to place a veto. The post-communist prime ministers of Poland, Władimir Cimoszewicz, Leszek Miller and Marek Belka, voted for radical changes to the treaties. I'm not worried about the emergence of a single state. All changes must be adopted by all states. Without a single state, no change can be made. And I think MEPs have shown the new committee, which will prepare and work on the demands, on the proposals for changes to the treaties, a conservative position, however. Polish representatives of the European People's Party from the Civic Platform and the Polish People's Party voted against the changes. However, as law and justice politicians argue, this was only an empty gesture. The real check moment will be the decision of the government, which will most likely be headed by Donald Tusk. I am firmly convinced that eventually there will be treaty changes or political changes that will not have to be ratified by the Polish Sejm. Also, somehow they will carry it out there, stretching the law. And he will agree to it, of course, because he is a supporter from a centralised Europe. Szymon Hołownia's Poland 2050 has clearly declared that it will not support the changes to the treaties. However, as the only representative of the Polish Parliamentary Speakers' Party in the EU Parliament, she voted for the centralisation of power in Europe. We are fully aware that each MEP holds a free mandate, so he or she can vote as he or she is convinced is in the best interests of Poland. On Tuesday, the Law and Justice Party submitted a resolution to the Sejm that commits the Polish government to a tough, sovereign stance against plans to federalise Europe. However, the Speaker of the Sejm referred the proposal to the European Union Affairs Committee, thus preventing it from proceeding before the vote in the EU Parliament. You and your formation are the ones who made it impossible for the Polish Sejm to make a public statement before the decision of the European Union. You are the ones who are agreeing to Poland being deprived of its independence. This is treason. The report will now go to the Council of Ministers on the 12th of December. The matter is then dealt with by the European Council, which by a simple majority convene a convention which forwards the report to the European Council. The final drafted treaty goes to the member states for ratification. If the changes go into effect, the European community could turn into a federation of states governed from Berlin. A ceasefire in Gaza takes effect at 7 a.m. tomorrow, local time. This was announced by the Qatari government's chief negotiator, who mediated between Israel and Hamas.
We have just finished with all the communication with all parties in order to ascertain the lists of those civilians who will be freed as a result of the deal agreed upon by both parties. The lists have been handed to both sides, and finally, in a communication just now, the list has been handed to the Israeli intelligence service, the Mossad, in order to facilitate the implementation of the deal. The beginning of the pause will be 7 a.m. Friday, the 24th of November, and it will last, of course, as agreed, for 4 days. And the first batch of civilians to be released from Gaza will be around 4 p.m. of the same day. They will be 13 in number, all women and children, and those hostages who are from the same families will be put together within the same patch. Obviously, every day will include a number of civilians, as agreed, to total 50 within the 4 days.
Meanwhile, British Foreign Secretary Lord Cameron today visited the Be'eri kibbutz, where Hamas massacred civilians on the 7th of October.
I wanted to come here myself to see the horrific nature of the attacks that you suffered on October the 7th, and they are absolutely horrific. I mean, the terrorism, parents shot in front of their children, children shot in front of their parents. I've heard things and seen things that obviously I will never forget, and it's important we understand that. Today is also a day where we hope to see this humanitarian pause. I think that's important because it's an opportunity to get hostages out and to get aid in, and I hope and would urge everyone who's involved in that agreement to make sure that it happens. I think it is important. For the rest of the day, I've got meetings with Israeli politicians. I'm going to be meeting with hostage families and discussing all of these issues and more, and hopefully there'll be other opportunities to talk to the press. But thank you for letting me come here.
On Thursday in Israel, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez and his Belgian counterpart, Alexander De Croo, met Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Jerusalem. The head of the Israeli government assured that he was doing everything possible to avoid civilian casualties.
I'm happy to say that there is a decline in civilian casualties, which is our goal. Our goal is to have none. And primarily that's because of the ground action. The ground action has resulted in the fact that the warnings that we give are addressed by the population, civilian population, that go south. We set up a safe corridor from the north of Gaza, where we were concentrating our effort against the terrorists, to the south. A safe zone in the south, safe corridor to the south. Hamas shot the safe corridor. They fired on the safe corridor, so the people would be trapped in. But they kept on leaving. They also hide behind their civilians. They deliberately implant themselves in hospitals, in schools, in residential areas, in UN facilities. They fire their rockets from there. Israel is a small country. They deliberately target civilians, and they deliberately hide behind civilians and use them as a human shield. That's a war crime.
Indian authorities report that 41 men trapped in a highway tunnel in India will soon be rescued. The most difficult obstacle, a steel girder arch that was slowing the progress of the work, has been successfully removed. It will take us another 12 to 14 hours to reach the area where the workers are trapped, and it may take another 2 to 3 hours to get them outside with the help of the National Disaster Response Force personnel. I am happy to tell you that all the steel that impeded the free movement of the pipe inside has already been removed.
At the moment, it's like we're there, we're knocking. Yeah. We know the guys are on the other side, but we can't get in. So I'm just going to go have a look and see what's happening.
Rescuers initially expected to reach the stranded this morning, as there were only a dozen metres of debris blocking access remaining to be drilled through. But again, they were unable to install the escape pipe because a steel arch stood in its way. The 4.5-kilometre tunnel collapsed on the 12th of November. Authorities say the men are safe, with access to light, oxygen, food, water and medicine. It is still unclear what caused the tunnel to collapse, but the region is prone to landslides, earthquakes and flooding. Americans are celebrating Thanksgiving today. Most will spend it at a lavish table with family and friends. The main dish is roast turkey. Among the holiday entertainment is watching American football.
It is one of the most important holidays in the U.S., as it is celebrated by all Americans. During this most family-oriented day on the American calendar, people travel thousands of miles to sit around the holiday table with loved ones. This year, an estimated 55 million Americans are traveling during Thanksgiving, the largest number in 20 years, almost 3% more than last year. The history of Turkey Day dates back to 1621, when the first feast was held in Plymouth, Massachusetts, after the harvest, before a harsh winter. Traditional holiday dishes include turkey, sweet potatoes, stuffing, cranberry sauce, and green beans. Pumpkin and pistachio nut cakes are usually served for dessert. The festive dinner begins with a prayer and thanks for all the good things the passing year has brought. Life for the pioneers was not easy. The great challenge was the journey across the ocean, and then the difficulty of getting food. To honor the courage and hard work of the first settlers, a roast turkey is eaten during Thanksgiving. One of the highlights of today's holiday celebrations are the parades that take place in a number of American cities. The oldest was established in Philadelphia in 1920, and the largest, this year's 97th Macy's Parade, takes place in New York City. From Los Angeles for TV Republika, Małgorzata Schulz.
That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.